This is all you need to know about playing an Arms Warrior in PvP on Cataclysm. Stat priority, first of all, you need hit chance. You need 600 or 601 hit chance, which is 5%. That is mandatory. Anything above that is useless, and you're then losing on another beneficial secondary stat. Anything less than that will make you miss. Expertise is important so that you don't parry your attacks, especially against melee classes. I advise you to have about 20 expertise. You may go a little bit higher in expertise depending on how many melees you're facing, or you may go a little bit lower if you're facing a lot of casters and fighting healers. Your number one primary stat is strength. That's what you go for in all of your gear pieces. Your number one secondary stat is critical chance. You want to have as much crit as possible after you're done getting your hit and expertise caps. Then it's mastery, and then it's haste, which is almost useless for arms warriors. This warrior isn't geared, but you'd want to go for the reverberating meta socket, which gives you strength and crit. And for the red gems, you want to go plus 40 strength. All the enchantments and sockets are the same as for Retribution Paladin, so if you want to check my Retribution Paladin guide, you can see all the enchantments and sockets there. Everything's the same. Except the weapon. For warrior, you would want to go with landslide because your PvP set already gives you a bonus, reduces the disarm duration by 60%. That's why paladins have to go for the Pyrian weapon chain for this same effect. When it comes to enchants and gems, just like the stat priority, you prioritize strength, possibly hit, and crit. These are my talents. There are two very popular builds. I recommend going for Gag Order, which is a talent and protection tree, and it makes your pommel and heroic throw silence the target. So you have an extra crowd control, which is amazing. It has diminishing returns, so you can't just spam pommel every 10 seconds and silence the target for 3 seconds. The other build you could go for is going for Piercing Howl if you want to have that AoE slow, but unlike Hamstring, Piercing Howl has a 10-yard range while Hamstring only has a melee range. So you could consider either going for Piercing Howl, getting some Blood Craze extra healing if you play in 1v1 against non-casters. But if you're playing in arena against healers and casters, I would definitely go for Gag Order. And even overall, I think Gag Order is usually the better build to go for. Most of these talents are mandatory. You can play around with Blitz, where charge stuns an additional target. You could get 2 out of 2 drums of war if you want to decrease the cost of pummel. Since you are running Gag Order, you will be spamming that pummel a lot. You could go also 0 or 2 out of 2 on sudden death to increase your chance of proccing Colossus Smash, which is one of your main abilities. And some people also like to run Slam. This build is amazing in case you're able to stick on your target, which for warrior is extremely difficult in PvP. So if you play with a holy paladin, let's say in 2v2, and he spams cleanse on you, removing over crowd control and slows off of you, and you're able to get those slams here and there, it is a very good build. But in reality, you're oftentimes lucky to get a Mortal Strike, overpower a Colossus Smash off even, spamming your hamstrings all the time. Warrior, if he sticks on the target, is dangerous, but he's super easy to snare. Warriors can deal insane amounts of damage. That's why they're so popular in PvE. Their Mortal Strike, Colossus Smash, and even Overpower deal crazy amounts of damage. The downside to playing Arms Warrior is their lack of mobility, since they only have Heroic Leap on 1 minute cooldown and Charge on 13-second cooldown. That would be amazing, but Charge has only a 25-yard range, so fighting a Hunter still will be troublesome, since they will try to keep their distance, being 40 yards away from you at all times. And with Heroic Leap, you have to choose the area where you want to leap. You also lack defensives. Your shield wall is on a 5-minute cooldown and only reduces damage by 40%. You have your shield block, which is essentially useless, and then you have your spell reflection, which is solid, but it's on 25-second cooldown. And remember, with all of these defensives, you have to equip your one-hander and shield. So you're actually not even dealing damage anymore if you can't use your two-hander for the duration of your defensives. And your offensive cooldown, Recklessness, also increases damage done to you. So if you press it, an enemy knows that they should swap on you, they have an extra 20% damage buff on you, so they can easily destroy you. And your Bladestorm, which is essentially also a freedom, can be disarmed, and it also has a 1.5 minute cooldown. The only heal you have, aside from Blood Craze, which most of people don't even talent for, is Enrage Regeneration, and it only regenerates 36% of your health. It is oftentimes paired up with Rallying Cry, which increases your maximum HP, but it's 3-minute cooldown on your only heal. Now for the Glyphs, if you're not running the Slam build, you'll go for Bladestorm, reducing its cooldown by 15 seconds. Not much, but it helps. Mortal Strike, which increases the damage of Mortal Strike, and Overpower, which increases the damage of Overpower by 10%. If you're running the Slam build, you could choose Glyph of Slam, which increases its critical strike chance by 5%, and use this glyph instead of the Glyph of the Bladestorm. Then for major glyphs, I would advise you to go for a Glyph of Colossus Smash. Long charge, getting 5 yards extra distance on your charge can be game breaking. Piercing Hell, if you're running Piercing Hell talent, which increases its radius, making it a 15-yard range. You could go for Shield Wall. It increases the damage reduction effect of Shield Wall by 20%, which is a lot, but increases its cooldown to 7 minutes overall. And for minor glyphs, I would go for a Glyph of Battle, which increases the duration of your shout by 2 minutes. Berserker Rage gives you 5 rage. And you may go for a Glyph of Command or Demoralizing Shout, which this ability you sometimes use too when you have nothing else to press or you're fighting classes like Rogues, Ferals. And finally, for your playstyle and rotation, the opener, obviously you want to have your Shout up, which is usually Battle Shout, but depending on what classes you play with, you may already have a similar buff like Horn of Winter from DK, in which case you would use Commanding Shout. So Battle Shout also generates a little bit of rage. You charge. Number one thing you want to do, you want to apply your slow, ideally with Hamstring. If you're not on melee range, then use Piercing Hell and keep Hamstring on the target at all times. If you're not able to stick on the target, you're not going to be able to deal any damage. So Hamstring, number one priority. Then Rend. Keep your Rend dot on the target at all times. My Hamstring is down. I reapply Hamstring. Now you use either Mortal Strike or Colossus Smash. I use Mortal Strike, especially when fighting healers or casters. I prioritize Colossus Smash when I'm fighting plate classes. Now if you use Mortal Strike while Rend is up, it automatically refreshes Rend, so you don't have to press Rend anymore. Overpower if you have nothing else to use, or in case you're fighting Rogues, Ferals, which parry a lot of your attacks. And this is all you do. If you're at 80 plus rage, you may consider using Heroic Strike to dump some of that rage. Also keep in mind Heroic Strike is off global cooldown, so you can use it whenever you want to, as far as it's not on its own cooldown. And for your burst cooldowns, you can use Deadly Calm. I'll press Deadly Calm and you can use all your abilities free of rage cost. So that's when you spam Heroic Strike as often as possible because it's free now. You cannot use Deadly Calm and Recklessness at the same time, but once Deadly Calm is off, you can use your Recklessness. Again, make sure that the opponent isn't going to target you and kill you. That's why I have my Cancel or Recklessness macro somewhere around here, so I can cancel it in case Retribution Paladin with Wings and Zealotry swaps on me and wants to kill me in 3 seconds. Don't forget to use your crowd control. You have Throwdown that stuns the target. Also make sure that the target will not parry this attack because that happens quite a bit. You have your Fear, Intimidating Shadow 2-minute cooldown, and you have your Pummel, which is Kick, and also Silence if you're using Gag Order, as well as Heroic Throw on 30-second cooldown, which has 30-yard range, and also silences the target if you have the Gag Order talent. Charge also stuns the target for 1 second. If you're fighting a Paladin, for instance, with his Divine Shield or Hand of Protection active, you can Shattering Throw, destroy that bubble, and keep attacking him and kill him. Use Bladestorm, not so much for damage, because it doesn't deal that much damage on single target compared to your normal single target rotation with Mortal Strike, Overpower, and Colossus Smash. That's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. And if you have any questions, refer to my older videos, tier list videos where I talk about warriors and other classes. Or if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I try to answer every comment.